The phone on the nightstand didn't ring, it vibrated, sounding like a chainsaw in the dead of night. It's the kind of noise that rips you from the deepest, warmest part of sleep. I blinked, my heart already hammering my ribs. The alarm clock glowed, 12:07 a.m. My name is George. I'm a retired accountant, living a quiet life with my wife in what I thought was a safe suburban neighborhood. But one night, my world was shattered by a phone call. What's the scariest phone call you've ever received? Let me know in the comments below. If you find stories like this gripping, take a second to subscribe to the channel right now. We're just getting started. Who calls at this hour? My sleep-fogged brain cycled through the usual horrors: car accident, hospital, death. My hand, clumsy and shaking, fumbled for the phone. Beside me, my wife, Helen, stirred, murmuring my name. The screen lit up. It was a picture of my son, Mark, smiling in his stiff suit on graduation day at Quantico. Ever since he joined the bureau, pride and a cold, hard knot of fear had become my constant companions. I swiped to answer. "Mark, is everything okay?" Silence. Well, not total silence. It was the sound of ragged, frantic breathing. "Mark?" I said again, louder this time, sitting bolt upright. Helen was awake now, her hand on my arm. Then his voice came, a raw, shredded whisper that was nothing like the confident son I knew. "Dad, listen to me. Don't ask questions. Just do exactly what I say." The world narrowed to his voice. "Go to the attic. Take Mom. Hide. Right now." The line was still open, filled with the sound of his ragged breaths. For a second, my brain just refused to work. The attic? Hide? It sounded like a line from a bad movie, not something my son, a federal agent, would ever say. My first idiotic thought was that it was some kind of sick prank. "Mark, what are you talking about? Did something happen?" "No time, Dad, no time." The strain in his voice was terrifying. He sounded like a man running on pure adrenaline. I could hear a faint thump-thump in the background, like he was running, phone pressed to his ear. "Please, just listen. Is the house locked?" "Yes, of course, it's locked, but—" "Good. Don't turn on any lights, not a single one. Get Mom. Go to the crawl space in the back of the master closet, get the access panel open, and get into the attic. And don't make a sound." Each word was a jagged command. The quiet, normal life I'd known for 30 years in our quiet, normal suburban home just shattered. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a drill. The fear that had been a low hum in the back of my mind since he joined the FBI roared to life, a physical thing that dried my mouth and shook my hands. The dangers of his job were always abstract things that happened to other agents, other families. Now that danger had a voice, and it was telling me to hide in my own home. "Mark, talk to me. Is someone after you? Are you hurt?" I was trying to keep my voice from shaking, and failing. "It's not me. It's you. They're coming for you." The words hit me like a punch. Me and Helen? We were nobodies. A retired accountant and a retired school teacher. We lived a life so boring it was a running joke at family gatherings. What could anyone possibly want with us? "Who's coming, Mark? Who?" A burst of static, a muffled curse. "Dad, I can't explain. I'm moving. Just, please, I need you both to be safe. Did you and Mom ever finalize that emergency plan we talked about?" His question cut through the panic. We had. A year after he joined the bureau, Mark sat us down. It felt overly dramatic at the time. He made us walk through it. Where to meet if we had to evacuate, a designated safe room in the house. At his insistence, we'd chosen the attic. It was cramped, dusty, and had only one small, hard-to-reach entrance through our closet. "It's defensible," he'd said. It felt like a game then. It didn't feel like a game now. "Yes," I croaked. "Yes, we did." "The go bag? Is it there?" he asked, his voice still a desperate whisper. "It's in the closet. Mark, for God's sake, what is happening?" "I promise I'll explain everything, but you have to go. Now. Do you hear me? Now!" The line clicked. He was gone. The only sound left was the frantic thumping of my own heart. I looked at Helen. Her face was a pale oval in the gloom, her eyes wide with the same terror that was strangling me. "What is it, George? What did he say?" I swung my legs out of bed, my feet hitting the cold floor. The familiar comfort of my bedroom felt alien, menacing. Every shadow seemed to stretch and twist. "He said to hide," I whispered, the words feeling like a betrayal of the safety we'd built here. "In the attic, right now." For a frozen moment, we just stared at each other. Hide in the attic? It was insane. Then, down the street, a dog barked, a single sharp sound that made us both jump. That was the switch. The paralysis broke. "Okay," I said, my voice low and firm. "Okay, we do exactly what he said." We moved in the dark, hands outstretched, navigating our home by memory. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like a gunshot. I cursed myself for not fixing that loose board by the dresser. "Don't turn on any lights." Mark's voice was a mantra in my head. I got to the closet, my fingers fumbling for the cool brass of the doorknob. Helen was right behind me, already pulling our go bag from the top shelf. It was a sturdy backpack we'd packed half-jokingly one Sunday afternoon. Bottled water, protein bars, a first aid kit, a radio, flashlights, and copies of our essential documents. Mark had insisted on that last part. "In an emergency," he'd said, "proving who you are is almost as important as staying alive." It seemed paranoid then. Tonight, the bag's weight felt like the most reassuring thing in the world. I went for the access panel at the back of the closet, a 2-by-2-foot square of drywall. I pressed the corner and it clicked inward. Pulling it free, I was hit with a rush of cool, stale air that smelled of ancient dust. I grabbed the small stepladder from the corner, placing it as quietly as I could. The soft scrape of its metal feet on the hardwood made my teeth ache. "Go," I whispered to Helen, pointing up into the black square. "Get in." She didn't hesitate. She slung the bag over her shoulder, climbed the 3 steps, and hoisted herself into the darkness. I watched her legs disappear, my heart pounding. We were like mice scurrying into the walls, hiding from a predator we couldn't see or understand. I listened. Nothing but Helen shifting her weight on the beams above. The house was silent, too silent. Had the refrigerator always been this quiet? Where was the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall? Or was it just the blood roaring in my ears? I had to check. It was a stupid impulse, but I couldn't fight it. Leaving the panel open, I crept to the bedroom window, staying low, and peeked through a tiny gap in the blinds. Our street was empty. A single streetlight cast a sickly orange glow on the manicured lawns. A car passed, its headlights sweeping across our house. I flinched back, my heart seizing, but it just kept going. Nothing. There was nothing there. Was Mark wrong? Was this some huge, terrible mistake? I wanted to believe that, to laugh with relief and call him back, to chew him out for scaring 10 years off my life. But I knew my son. Mark wasn't paranoid. He was calm, methodical. If he said there was a threat, there was a threat. And his terror had been real. I could still hear it in his whisper. "They're coming for you." I scurried back to the closet. Taking one last look at the life Helen and I had built, I pushed the fear down and pulled myself up into the suffocating darkness. I reached down, pulled the ladder up, and then, with painstaking care, fitted the panel back into place. The click of it locking shut was the loudest sound I had ever heard. It was the sound of a tomb door closing. We were sealed in, plunged into absolute pitch-black silence. The darkness was total, a physical presence pressing on my eyes. The air was a cocktail of dust and fiberglass that scratched my throat with every breath. I crouched on the rough plywood floor, frozen. Beside me, I could hear Helen's breathing, a little too fast. I reached out and found her arm. Her skin was cold. We were in the long, narrow space running the length of the house, the roof sloping down sharply on either side. All around us were the ghosts of our life together, boxes of old tax records, a disassembled crib from when Mark was a baby, holiday decorations. We were hiding inside our own history. Minutes stretched into hours. Every sound was magnified. The groan of a floorboard settling became a footstep on the stairs. The whoosh of the furnace kicking on sounded like a door being forced open. I held my breath, straining to decipher the language of the house. My mind raced, searching for answers. Who? Why? I was a retired accountant. My biggest professional showdown was over depreciating assets for a hardware store. Helen taught second grade. Her greatest nemesis was the kid who ate paste. It made no sense. I thought about his job in counter-espionage. He never discussed cases. The less you know, the safer you are, he'd always say. It used to sound like a line from a spy movie. Tonight, it echoed with a grim new meaning. We knew he put dangerous people away, people with connections, resources, and long memories. I remembered the grim warnings from his orientation. Criminal organizations sometimes retaliate against agents by going after their families. My blood ran cold. Was this retaliation? Had one of the monsters Mark locked away sent their own monsters to our door? The thought made me sick. We weren't just hiding for ourselves. We were a weakness in our son's armor. Helen shifted. "George?" she whispered. "I'm here," I whispered back, my voice thick. "It's going to be okay." It was the most hollow lie I'd ever told. "What did you see out the window?" "Nothing," I admitted. The street was empty. I felt her deflate beside me. I think part of us wanted to see police cars, a clear threat. This waiting, this nothingness, was its own special kind of torture. I fumbled in the go-bag and found the tactical flashlight Mark had given us. I clicked on the red light function. A faint, bloody glow illuminated our small circle of misery. I could see Helen's face, smudged with dust, but her eyes steady. She was scared, but she was strong, stronger than me. "We had a plan," she said softly, as if reminding herself. "He gave us a plan." She was right. Mark had drilled us, made us stock this attic, created a communication protocol, even made sure we had a burner phone in the go-bag. He had foreseen a night like this, even if we hadn't wanted to. He was acting on his training. Suddenly, a new sound from downstairs. It wasn't the house settling. It was sharp, metallic. Click. The sound of a lock disengaging. My breath caught. I clicked off the flashlight, plunging us back into blackness. I grabbed Helen's hand, my grip so tight I could feel her bones. Someone was in our house. They hadn't smashed a window or kicked in a door. They'd unlocked it, like they had a key. Faintly from the first floor, I heard voices. Low, male, and more than one. They were moving slowly, deliberately. This wasn't a burglary, Burglars are fast. They smash, grab, and run. This was a hunt. I could hear their soft footsteps now, moving through the living room. I pictured them sweeping through the rooms, their eyes scanning for us. My mind flashed to the family photos on the mantel, our wedding picture, Mark in his Little League uniform. Were they looking at them right now? The footsteps started up the stairs. Thump, thump, thump. Slow, heavy steps. They were coming closer. My heart was going to explode. I pulled Helen closer, trying to shield her with my body. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. They were on our floor now, just outside our bedroom. The silence stretched, taut and screaming. Then the doorknob to our bedroom began to turn, slowly. The click of the bedroom door opening was deafening. They were in the room directly beneath us. My whole world was now this dusty 10 by 30-foot box. I could hear them moving around, the soft swish of fabric, a floorboard groaning under a heavy weight. I pictured them opening the closet doors. My mind fixated on the access panel. It was just a piece of drywall. If they looked up, we were finished. Then a vibration in my pocket. My phone. It felt like an electric shock. I fumbled for it, my fingers numb. Sure, they must have heard it. I held my breath, waiting for a shout from below, for the sound of the panel being ripped away. Nothing. I pulled the phone out, the screen lighting up my face. A text from Mark. "They're inside. Stay quiet. Do not move." A second message buzzed through. "They are pros, not common criminals. They tracked my car here 2 days ago. They think you can lead them to me." Nausea washed over me. This wasn't revenge. They were here to use us as bait. They were hunting my son, and his love for us was the weapon they were trying to turn against him. Another text. "They're from the Markov Syndicate, Eastern European. I dismantled their U.S. operation 6 months ago. The leader's brother is in a supermax. They want me." Markov Syndicate. The name meant nothing, but the implications were terrifying. These weren't street thugs. They were professional killers, just feet below me. A voice floated up, low and guttural. "Nichevo, the room is empty." Another voice responded, closer to the closet. "Check everywhere. The son is an agent. He would have taught them protocol." My blood turned to ice. Protocol? They knew. They were looking for a safe room. I heard the closet door slide open. They were directly beneath us. I could hear them breathing. I squeezed my eyes shut and prayed. A loud thud echoed right below us, like someone had smacked the ceiling. Helen let out a tiny, strangled gasp. I clamped my hand over her mouth. "This ceiling," the second voice said. "It sounds hollow here. Get a light." This was it. It was over. I saw it all in a horrifying flash. The panel torn away, the blinding light, the cold faces of the men who were about to kill us. The stepladder was next to me. A pathetic weapon, but I had to do something. Just as I moved, my phone buzzed one last time, frantic and insistent. A single word for Mark. Now. Before I could process it, the night exploded. The shatter of glass from the front of the house, then a deafening crash as the front door was breached. Shouts erupted downstairs. English, hard, tactical commands. "FBI, get down, hands where I can see them." The men below us cursed. There was a frantic scramble, the sound of weapons being readied. The world outside lit up with flashing red and blue lights, painting strobing patterns across the dusty attic rafters. The sudden wail of sirens was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. "They're on the stairs," one of the men below shouted. Heavy, pounding footsteps thundered up the staircase. FBI, show me your hands! A series of loud, concussive bangs shook the house, flashbangs. Gunfire erupted right outside the bedroom door, a chaotic, terrifying exchange of shots. The sharp smell of cordite seeped up through the floorboards. Helen was sobbing into my shoulder, my own body shaking uncontrollably. The fight was happening inches away, a violent storm on the other side of a thin layer of plaster. Suddenly, the access panel beneath us exploded inward in a shower of drywall dust. One of the intruders was clawing his way up, trying to escape. His face was a mask of panic and rage. His hand grappled for a hold. Before I could react, a figure in full tactical gear appeared in the bedroom doorway below him. He raised a rifle. 3 deafening reports. The man climbing into our sanctuary went limp and slumped back down, out of sight. Silence. The gunfire stopped. My phone lit up one last time. "It's over, Dad. Stay where you are. My team is clearing the house. I'm coming for you." My son. He hadn't just called to warn us. He was part of the storm. He had led the charge. I looked at the splintered hole in the attic floor, at the dust still swirling in the air, and finally let myself break down. Tears carving clean tracks through the grime on my face. The silence that followed was somehow more unnerving than the chaos. The air was thick with the smell of gunpowder, filled with the quiet, efficient sounds of professionals at work, muffled radio chatter, and the crunch of broken glass under boots. "Mom? Dad?" The voice came from directly below the broken panel. It was Mark's voice, real, strong, and close. "We're here, son," I called out, my voice cracking. "We're here." A powerful flashlight beam cut through the darkness. I saw his face, covered in sweat and grime, but he was whole. "Okay, Dad," he said after a moment. "Come on down, slowly." Descending that ladder was like being reborn. I stepped out of the closet into our bedroom, or what was left of it. The room was a wreck, the walls pocked with bullet holes. Agents were everywhere, tagging evidence. Our home was a federal crime scene. Mark wrapped his arms around me, and I clung to him. The boy I'd taught to ride a bike was gone, replaced by this formidable man who faced down killers. Helen came down next, and he held her just as tight. We stood there for a long moment, a small, trembling island of family in the middle of the chaos. An agent with VSD on his vest approached us, a victim specialist from the FBI's Victim Services Division. His job, he explained calmly, was to help us, to find us a place to stay and navigate the aftermath. The FBI had a structured response for when a case turned violent and impacted families. Tonight, our home was a crisis event. Mark walked with us as the specialist guided us downstairs. The front door was gone. 2 bodies lay on the floor, covered with sheets. He explained what happened in a low, clipped voice. The Markov syndicate had put a price on his head. They hadn't targeted him directly. They'd targeted his family. It's a common tactic used to intimidate law enforcement. They'd followed his car on a weekend visit, identified our house, and planned to abduct us to force Mark into a trap. "My surveillance team picked up their chatter tonight," Mark said, his jaw tight. "They were moving on you. We didn't have time to evacuate you quietly. The only play was to let them enter the house so we could contain them." My mind reeled. He had let them come inside. He had used his own parents as bait in his own trap. It was a cold, calculated, tactical decision. I looked at my son and saw the weight of that choice in his eyes. We had teams surrounding the house, he said, seeing the look on my face. "But I had to be sure you were hidden. I had to know you were out of the line of fire." That's why he'd called. He wasn't just warning us, he was positioning his family out of harm's way before the battle began. In the sterile quiet of the hotel room that night, I couldn't sleep. I realized we survived for one reason. We had a plan. Mark's insistence on creating a family emergency plan, something that seemed so dramatic at the time, is what saved our lives. We knew where to go, what to take, and how to stay quiet. Having a designated safe room and a go kit made the difference between life and death. The threat facing families of law enforcement is real. Planning isn't paranoia, it's a lifeline. If our story teaches you anything, let it be that. Have the hard conversations. Know what you and your family will do when the unthinkable happens, because it happened to us. The days that followed were a blur. The FBI's Victim Assistance Program was incredible, providing everything from counseling to help with insurance. Our house was eventually repaired, but it never felt the same. The memory of what happened lingers in the walls. Our survival came down to Mark's training and foresight. We were lucky, yes, but luck favors the prepared. Take the time, have the conversation, and make your plan. You hope you'll never have to use it, but if you do, it will be the most important thing you ever did. The full story of Mark's case against the Markov Syndicate is a whole other level of complex, a web of international crime and covert operations. We'll be telling that full FBI story in Part 2. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you're the first to know when it drops. You won't want to miss how this story truly ends.